Like I said, the girl mentioned something about us being under the shade of the tree. And I said, those that dwell in the secret place of the Most High God shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I told her this. I said this out of my mouth when she said that, because that was what came to my mind when she mentioned that we were under this shade. Us being under the shade and still seeing people walking on foot in the direction that the GPS was taking me before I pulled over. This represents the path to life. And the Lord gave me Matthew 7, verse 13 to 14. I think I skipped ahead a little bit, but let me see. As the girl and I walked back outside, we were still under the tree, and we began talking while watching people walk down this path in front of the treehouse. I had the thought that the park had to be up ahead because there were a lot of people on foot walking in the direction that the GPS was taking me before I stopped due to the landscape. Again, there were people on this path. They were walking on foot. Some of them it was just 2 people. And then I saw like groups of 3 people. And then I saw like people, just like single people. But they were all walking in the same direction that the GPS had been leading me. And again, because of the landscape, because of the craters, because of the uprooted tree trunks, I was like, this cannot be where I'm supposed to be going, because it just did not look like what I thought it was supposed to look like. It looked desolate. It looked like a desert. It looked like just I was going the wrong way, period. Again, the girl mentioned something about us being under the shade of the tree. And I said, those who dwell in the secret place of the Most High God shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And all right, so right here, the Lord had me go to Psalm 91:1 and look up shadow in the Strong's Concordance. So this number is 6738. And that's the number associated with shadow. So let me see. Let me go to 67. What did I say? 38. All right. And I'm going to read from the Strong's Concordance what this says. And it reads, 6738 binds together concrete desert experience, poetic confession, prophetic warning, and messianic hope. Whether offering literal coolness, picturing divine embrace, or reminding humanity of transience, the shadow theme invites every generation to seek lasting refuge in the Lord alone and to extend that same sheltering grace to others. So, this is very significant because I told y'all when we got to that treehouse, we didn't know that somebody lived there. But as we were stepping off of the porch, we realized, oh, this is somebody's house. But again, they handled us with grace. It was as if they knew us or something, like, like it didn't bother them that we were in their space. So I thought that was so profound. And then the Lord also had me go to Psalm 91 verse 4 and look up feathers. And he had me look this up because we started back to the dream. We started to walk around the property, and then I thought to explain to her Psalm 91. I thought to explain to her what this meant. But the Lord brought to my mind that he will cover us with his feathers, allowing me to think to use the analogy of a chicken laying eggs and keeping the eggs underneath her. Again, the Lord also led me to look up feathers from Psalm 91 and 4. Feathers is the number 84 in the Strong's Concordance. And this reads, Psalm 91:4 offers one of Scripture's most beloved assurances. He will cover you with his feathers. Under his wings, you will find refuge. Shelter beneath the pinion becomes shorthand for absolute security amid plague, terror, and warfare. The promise rests on God's faithfulness, which functions as both shield and rampart. So again, there is a story in the Bible that talks about the people of God sieging the promised land, but there was warfare, there was battle, like they had to fight for the land. So this is the same picture that God was giving me in this dream, but I was seeing basically like the aftermath of the warfare. There has been a lot of warfare, right? But again, as the GPS was leading me, I'm driving this truck. As the GPS is leading me, I turn onto this dirt road, and all I'm seeing the aftermath of the warfare. I'm seeing the craters in the ground, and I'm seeing the uprooted tree trunks. And I'm trying to maneuver through all of this because the Lord is leading me to a landmark that I can't see. And because I could not see this landmark, I start to think this can't be the right way. Like I cannot be going the right way because this looks like a deserted land. So that right there, it was just further confirmation because the Lord will confirm his word. So let's see, where was I at? Okay, before I could say anything, she saw this guy that she knew walking on this path. All right. So this guy represents her God ordained husband. And she saw him on the path in front of the treehouse with two other men. So this represents the Trinity, God the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit. So the God ordained spouse represents himself as the Son of God, as being a son of God, right? With this, that was confirmation or clarity that this spouse is walking with God. He's walking closely with God. Like the way that they were walking, there was three. There was the God ordained spouse and then two other men. But they were like in unity, like they were in unison. They were all walking together in purpose. Like they were heading toward an assignment. They had something to do. So it says, she started to try to talk to him. And from my perspective, one of the men told him that he had to keep up. And so he was very respectful at this command and told the girl that he would talk to her later. So the one who told him, come on, like you have to keep up, this was a representation of God. He was the head. He was the one that was calling the shots. And the God ordained spouse or the God ordained husband, he was in submission to this. He immediately responded in submission and told the girl that he would talk to her later. The girl and the guy both had on the same Leatherman jacket. And as he turned around to continue walking the path, his jacket said either Army or Navy. Whatever word it said, it was in navy blue words. And this was on the back of his jacket. The words written on the back of the man's jacket, whether it was Army or Navy, the Lord had me look up Army and Navy, and these are armed forces, but they are distinctly different. The Army is land-based and the Navy is marine-based. With them having on the same jacket, me not knowing whether the word said Army or Navy, this means that they have there is a common ground that has brought them together. In this case, in the dream, it was college, right? The common denominator was college. They both went to the same college, and from seeing that they both had on the same Leatherman jackets, I could identify that they went to the same college, that was how they knew each other. So in real life, what this looks like is you and your God ordained husband, y'all could work at the same school. You could be a teacher, but he could be the principal. So you get what I'm saying? Like it is a common area but it's two distinctly different assignments. And just to go even further, I can use what the Lord gave me in my dream, Army and Navy. So spiritually, this could mean that the wife has dominion over the land, while the husband has dominion over the marine kingdom. And this is the assignment that you two have together in overcoming principalities. Let me see. The girl started to explain to me that she knew he was her person. I told her that he seemed very well mannered, the way that he said yes sir to the man, and told her that they could talk later. And again, when he told her that they could talk later, I knew in the spirit that he was saying, we'll talk later back at school or back at college. It was like I could see this, like vision in my mind that they went to the same college. She told me that he was talking on the phone to his mom. As I was telling her this, that he seemed well-mannered, the way that he said yes sir to the man, the girl was very insistent that he was talking on the phone to his mom. And I explained to her that from my perspective, it seemed like he was talking to the guy who had told him to keep up. Mind you, the guy that was physically there with him. He was not on the phone. He didn't have a phone in his hand. And so what the Lord was explaining to me here is that, so this could be very specific for somebody, right? You and your God ordained husband could have met in college. But even more, not just in college, but y'all could have met at a job. There's a common place that both of you were doing the same thing. So in college is a place where we learn. And so from learning, a lot of the times we're gaining knowledge, understanding, or instruction. And so this could be anything on a job, in a partnership, a business, but y'all were in the same area, gaining the same thing from whatever it was that y'all were doing. And so again, the girl starts trying to tell me like, oh, he was on the phone or he was talking to his mom. And I'm telling her, from my perspective, he's talking to the man that's right here in front of us. She could not see clearly. So she was blind to what was right in front of us. But I had the spiritual eyes. I could see clearly that this man was walking with God. He was walking on the straight and narrow path. He was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing. And for whatever reason, she could not see that. Even though she was standing right there next to me, and I thought we were seeing the same thing. But when she opened her mouth, I realized that she was blinded to what was actually in front of her. So you could have somebody in your life, or you could actually be the person who was blinded. But again, the way that the Lord gave me the dream, this was a God ordained husband that was walking on this path. He was walking on this path with God and the Holy Spirit, and they were headed to do an assignment. And there was this intervention, like the girl intervened. So either you intervened, or you are watching this play out in somebody else's life, and you are a friend or a bystander, and you're seeing that this is a man of God, and the person whose spouse this actually is, they cannot see that this is the person that God has for them. Or, like I said, this can be you, and maybe you're blind to seeing that your God ordained husband is walking with God and he's on the right path, but you cannot see that this is your God ordained husband. So as I explain further, everything will make sense if that didn't make sense. So she started to explain to me that she had rejected him before because of her family and friends. Before I move further, the jackets. Oh, let me not say that yet because I didn't even get to that part. Okay, so she started to explain to me that she had rejected him before because her family and her friends. So again, whether you are a male or a female, but like I said, the dream was given to me from me being a bystander, and I'm watching somebody else's God ordained union play out. So I'm watching my friend not recognize that this man is her husband. And I'm not even gonna say that she couldn't recognize that this wasn't her husband, but she was still not seeing him clearly, even though he was right in front of her and he was walking on the path that the Holy Spirit led us on. They were both on the same path. We just got off of the path because we thought we were going the wrong way. But as we were on the sideline, dwelling in the secret place of the Most High and abiding in the shadow of the Almighty, she saw her spouse walking down the same path that the Holy Spirit was leading us on. Okay, so again, she was telling me that she had rejected him before because of her family and friends. You may have been rejected because of what your God ordained husband's family and friends were saying, or you may have been the one rejecting due to what your family and friends were saying. I had a knowing that she was in college, and when I saw that the guy had on the same jacket as her, I correlated that to them both going to the same college, and that was how they knew one another. So again, earlier on, when the guy had told her like, hey, we'll talk later, I had a vision in my mind. Like as he was saying this, I saw them on a college campus. So I had already been made aware that they knew each other because they went to the same college. And then later on, as me and the girl that was with me, as we further conversed, them having the same jacket, again, I had correlated that to them both going to the same college, and that was how they knew one another. So this just confirmed the vision that I had, minutes before. So the jacket represents a garment, and a garment represents a mantle. So like I said, them going to the same college, they were doing the same thing. Like the outcome for both of them was the same. Whether it was different fields, the outcome was the same. Gaining knowledge, instruction, and that goes for any field. Again, this could be in marriage, it could be in business, it could be in anything. But in just referring to the dream, this further confirmed that this was her God ordained husband because they were at the same place at the same time doing the same thing with the same jacket on. Moving forward with the dream, she had wanted to apologize and tell him that she was ready to be with him, but she wasn't able to because of what he was doing when they crossed paths. This man was very kind, gentle, tenderhearted toward her, and I could visibly see how in love he was with her and that he walked in forgiveness. So this just represented that he had the Spirit of God on him. He had the Spirit of God. He was walking his life out with the Holy Spirit, and it showed in his response to her, his just the way that he encountered her. I could, like, it was visibly clear that he was walking with the Holy Spirit, that he was in relationship with the Holy Spirit. He wasn't desperate or even appearing to try to get her attention, but he was very attentive when she called out to him in the midst of him taking this path to walk toward a time-sensitive assignment the three men had. So as we are standing off to the side of this path, her and I are talking. As we're talking, she just happens to see this man walking on the path with two other men. Again, you can tell they were walking with purpose, like they were headed somewhere. And she called out to him, and even though he was on a mission, he was on an assignment, he didn't brush her off. He didn't ignore her. He turned to her, he acknowledged her, but it was not in desperation. And again, I could see how he felt for her. I could see it was all over him. It was in his actions. It was in his words. It was in everything that he did. Like, he embodied the love of God. And this was displayed in the interaction between them. I also was aware, like I said, that he was walking toward a time-sensitive assignment that the three men had. The three men all had to complete a certain assignment together, and I knew this in the spirit, in the dream. And so when he stopped, again, like I said, the Godhead, God the Father, was calling him and telling him, hey, come on, we got to go. We have something to do. So what this represents is the Lord calling the husband ahead. There's an assignment that the husband is on right now. God has already called him ahead. The Lord goes before us. He prepares the way for us. So the landmark that God is taking us to, it's already being prepared. That is the assignment that this husband was on. And the girl kind of intervened or interrupted, but she was intervening and interrupting because she wanted to let him know that she was ready to be with him. But again, he had not completed the assignment that he was supposed to complete yet. So he told her, we'll talk about it later. So that indicated he had to complete that assignment first before they could have a conversation. So to anyone who has not received that communication yet, it's due to an assignment that has not yet been completed. The Lord is having your husband complete an assignment before he reaches out to you, because once he reaches out to you, that's when the talk is going to be able to happen, because that whatever process that the Lord was taking them through, it will be complete. And you will know that it's complete by them reaching out. During their short interaction, I could see that the man was slightly shorter than the girl. And there was nothing about his physical appearance that stood out. So I knew that she had rejected him because he didn't look like everybody else or have a look of the world. So this right here is so important, because a lot of us have rejected the very people, not even spouse-wise, but destiny helpers. We have rejected people because they did not look the way that we expected them to look, or they didn't talk the way that we expected them to talk. And the Lord had allowed me to know this in the dream, that she had rejected him because he just didn't look like everybody else. Like how every other man, I guess, in college looked to her at that time, like the world. But it's because he's not of the world. He is a child of God. So you can't expect a child of God to look like the world. You can't say that you want a man of God, but deep down, you actually want a man that is of the world, or that looks like the world. The girl and I then started to walk back to the outside porch of the treehouse. And as we did so, I remember pointing out a white puppy to her, wearing a custom-made denim dress and a necklace. So I knew the dog was a girl. All right, so this right here is very specific. Again, because God is so multidimensional, this word if it applies to you, like there's certain details that you know if this word is for you, right? But the way that the Lord gave it to me was that this is a woman who has rejected a man. And again, y'all could have met in college. Y'all could have met in high school. But the woman rejected the man. And with me seeing this dog, this lets me know that the woman was dogging the man. The woman was the prodigal. The puppy, again, it was a white puppy. White represents purity, holiness, righteousness, divine glory. And the Lord gave me Psalm 51:7. With this girl wanting to talk to him, wanting to apologize to him, wanting to tell him that she's ready to be with him, this confirms why I saw the white puppy. Because she has been cleansed, restored, renewed. And, you know, she has now aligned herself with God. And as she has aligned herself with God, maybe y'all have crossed paths. Maybe you have crossed paths. But again, like I said, there's an assignment that has to be done before the real conversation can be had. Again, the dog wearing a custom-made denim dress and a necklace, that can be confirmation to somebody because that's very specific. I knew that the owner of the dog had sewn the dress for the dog, and this reminded me that I needed to get back to sewing. Maybe this is somebody who is into fashion, somebody who sews. You will know if this word is for you, because that is very straightforward confirmation. And again, this reminded me that I need to get back to sewing. Just with me having the knowledge that the owner of the dog had sewn the dress for the dog, in my mind, like, that represents the Lord putting new garments or putting garments on this dog, right? On something that is looked at or deemed dirty or low, you know? He has clothed you. He has renewed you. He has put new garments on you. You're not a dog anymore. You have turned to the will of God. You are now in alignment, walking in God's will. And now you are wanting to reach out to your God-ordained husband or whatever. The time will come. But his assignment has to be complete before you all have that conversation. I will leave all of the scriptures in the description box. And one last thing that I forgot to mention, I had this dream on December 29th of 2025. And the Lord had me look up 1229. And 1229 means to proclaim thoroughly, to declare, to announce. And so the meaning of this, it says 1229 carries the idea of announcing or proclaiming something so thoroughly that the message spreads everywhere it needs to go. The prefix underscores range and completeness, a proclamation that penetrates through and through, leaving no quarter untouched. The summary of 1229 says, though rare, 1229 portrays the sweeping proclamation God expects and supplies, whether commanding a disciple, governing a missionary's integrity, or overruling a pagan monarch. The Lord orchestrates circumstances so that his name will be proclaimed in all the earth. So again, this was just confirmation to me that I needed to share this, but not just that I needed to share this, but that this journey is for the glory of God. All will know the God that you serve because of this God ordained union. So that's all. God bless you all. And I will be back soon with another word.